Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about course management, and we're going to be doing this while watching over a round that I played this weekend. This round didn't quite go exactly how I planned, but the goal of today's episode is to talk about how do we manage a round when you're not hitting at your best. Let's go. So I'm going to kind of let this video play in the background, but I can start by saying I've been playing golf my entire life. As you can tell from the thumbnail, I did end up playing in college. I played for Illinois Wesleyan University, where we ended up winning the 2019 NCAA. Currently, my handicap is sitting at +1. I don't get to practice anymore like I used to, so course management is extremely important for scoring low. It's one of those things that can save you shots without even going to the driving range. As you can tell on this hole, I already found myself in a little bit of trouble, which made me end up having to change my strategy for the hole. I was in the bunker and I was jammed up against the lip, which changed my strategy. On a normal par 5, if I hit the fairway, I'm thinking about going for the green in 2, getting close, maybe chipping it close and making easy birdie, or even hitting the green and making eagle. In this case, I had to take my medicine. So the goal there is just focus on hitting a solid shot, get it out of the bunker. Thankfully, I was able to get it to a pretty good yardage to leave myself a nice putt for birdie. Unfortunately there, I did end up missing that putt, but I was happy to take my par and get on to the next one after finding myself in the bunker off the tee on the first hole. Now this is a dogleg right to left. It doesn't fit my typical shot shape, so I'm not going to try and force any shot here. I'm not trying to hit any shot I'm uncomfortable with. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to hit my typical left to right ball flight. Now I did end up again finding myself in a bad position against the lip of the bunker. I couldn't believe this happened 2 shots in a row, but I didn't sit around and mope about it. I came up with the game plan. Let's assess the lie. Let's again hit it out to a yardage that I can hopefully get one close from. And I did hit a good wedge here. It did end up just hitting the green and releasing to come off to the back, which is a little bit unfortunate. So again, I'm stuck scrambling here. My only hope is I could chip in for par, and I tried to play a really cute little bump and run, something that I wasn't too comfortable with, and it ended up getting eaten up by the fringe and leaving it short. And it gave me a really tough look for bogey, which I lipped out. So it made me tap in for double, and that puts me at 2 over through 2 holes. Not an ideal start. It's very important to make bogey your worst score. So in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have gotten as aggressive with that wedge. I could have left myself something short, give myself a nice look for par, but at worst, make bogey. But after a bad hole, my only focus is on the next shot in front of me. So in this case, it was a drive. I was focused on nothing that had happened in the past. You can't change that. My only focus is on how can I put this drive in position. Thankfully, this pin was on the left side of the green, which I could tell from the tee box. So my little left to right ball flight was not going to hurt me in this case. In fact, it gave me a great angle to be aggressive with the wedge, which I didn't quite get it to the hole. But I did have still a decent look for birdie. So now it gives me an opportunity to get one of those shots back. Unfortunately here, I did not make it. But after a double bogey, following it up with a par, limiting the damage is really not that bad. And I'm happy to take that par and get on to the next hole. So similar to the last hole, my only focus here is putting this tee ball in the fairway. You can see that there's trees on the right side. There's a fairway bunker on the left. It's super important to put this ball into the fairway so that way I can have a nice approach into this green. My ball had been turning over left to right, so my goal here is to start this one left and let it draw back in the fairway, which thankfully I was able to do perfectly, and it set me up with this nice 170-yard shot coming into this par 5. Now that we've covered not forcing shots, playing that draw if that's what you have for the day, it's so important now to talk about club selection. Now in this case, the flag was tucked away back. I have a tendency to miss long, so I clubbed down and swung harder to try and just get this ball in the front part of the green and let it release to the hole. Now, as you can see, I did end up catching it a little bit low on the face, and it ended up plugging in the bunker just short of the green. This basically takes away my opportunity for birdie. Thankfully, I did catch it pretty good, to be honest, and it got over the green and left me with a little chip, which I feel really comfortable with. But coming down the hill, it's super important that you take the right club to just get that ball onto the fringe and let it release to the hole. In the case of that shot for me, it came down to just hitting a 58 degree, which was able to just carry the ball far enough to land on the green and release to the hole. It's something you'll have to play around with on the chipping green, but hit different wedges, hit different shots. See how far is each one of your clubs carrying. That way you can judge how much club to take or what club to hit in order to carry the fringe and land it just on the green. That way it can roll out. Now, obviously, assessing your lie is important. Understanding if you need to hit the ball a little bit higher to get a little bit more spin on the ball so that way it can stop closer. In this case here, I used my strategy of landing it just on the fringe, which it was a really downhill chip, and I did land it, an inch on the fringe, and it ended up rolling about 10 feet past the hole. In retrospect, I probably could have taken a little bit more loft. In that case, I hit a 54 degree, and I could have hit it a little bit higher with a little bit more spin, and it probably would have stopped up just short of the hole and given myself a lot better look at par. After making bogey on that 238-yard par 3, honestly, it wasn't the end of the world. However, I did set myself up pretty well off the tee. So being 3 over through the first 4 holes kind of lit a little fire under me, and I stood on this tee saying, man, I'm going to rip this ball up the middle of the fairway, and then I'm going to make a birdie. I was able to accomplish that first goal of just putting it right in the middle of the fairway. I kind of fixed a little bit of what was my issues off the tee just by starting it up the left side and letting it turn over. I wasn't trying to force any shots. And this shot here comes back to club selection. I had 135, and it was a little bit downhill. The greens had been releasing all day, so I did not want to end up going long. So I took a gap wedge, which is about a 130 club for me, and I tried to hammer it. I knew there was room short of that flag that if I were to land a full gap wedge, full distance, short of the flag, it would release onto the hole. Now, I did end up just landing in the rough, just short of the green, and ended up stopping, and I wasn't able to get it up and down. So at this point, I'm 4 over par. This is really not going well. I did figure out my driver, which is a great thing. Now I can at least be confident that I can put myself in position off the tee. In this case, I've set myself up perfectly. Golf's about taking advantage of opportunities when you have them. In the course of a normal round, I'd say even a great player is only hitting 3 or 4 shots exactly the way they want to go. Golf's a game about managing your misses. Now, in this case, I hit a drive right up the middle. I gave myself a yardage that I'm really comfortable with, and I hit a great low spinning wedge shot, which set me up for a perfect birdie opportunity. Now I'm rolling. I've got a little bit of fire under me now, something to play with. Now, here's one thing that's going to be important. Staying in the moment, staying present. It's really easy to get excited about making a birdie and get on to the next hole, and then, like we talked about earlier, try and force a shot. This was another half yardage for me. I ended up taking extra club knowing that I was missing short on the last few, and ended up getting super quick and ended up hitting just behind the ball, coming up just short of the green. Now it's easy to sit around and mope and think, there goes my birdie. I'm going to follow it up with a bogey. However, bogey was never in my mind. I'm assessing my lie. I'm seeing what the shot calls for. Similar to earlier how I misclubbed with chips, I'm now taking a 58 degree. I'm looking at what the lie is calling for. A little open face, sweep under it. I cup the wrist, keep that face pointed at me after the follow through. And that's going to allow that ball to fly a little high and come off with a lot of spin. Now I'm in my wheelhouse. I've got a 3.5 footer, which these can be scary for most people. My only mental tip on that is just to pick a spot out in front of you and just keep that putter head moving. If you decelerate and let that putter stop moving, you're really going to hit bad putts. The green's going to take it. You're not going to put that ball in the hole, but you're going to try and let that ball go in the hole. It's so important to put the ball in the hole with those short little putts. Now going into the 9th hole, my last hole of the round, I'm really excited. I just had a great up and down for par, but I have to remember what happened when I got excited on the last hole. I have to focus one shot at a time. So I accomplished my goal there of just keeping it smooth, making sure my tempo is good, and hitting a good drive on the par 5. And this is actually a great opportunity to show you about managing your misses. You can see there's water and sand on the right. I was going after the green. I was trying to hit a little cut 3-wood into the green, which I ended up bailing out left, but this bailout zone was completely safe. I was never gonna lose any shots hitting it over here. Now I come up again to another green light wedge shot. I do the exact same strategy where I'm swinging across the ball. I got that face open. I'm utilizing the bounce, and I'm cupping my wrist so that way the club face is pointing at me on my follow through. And as you can see, it just 2 hops and stops, leaves me with another 2.5, 3-foot putt for birdie, which I'm able to cash. But thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully we'll get a good round in here soon we can talk about, but I really appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one.